good way to start the study of the economics of disasters is to let students wrestle with an economic mystery. We hear all the time that disasters are good for the economy, but are they? In this activity, students are the detectives, and the economic way of thinking is their toolkit. Working in teams, they will examine clues and analyze data and evidence, sometimes seemingly conflicting evidence, from real disasters to come to a group consensus. The clues for this activity contain data from historical disasters. Some are quotes from analysts or commentators, and others are statistical data or charts. To prepare, determine how many groups you will have for the activity. I recommend 3 to 5 students per group so no one can be easily left out. Make enough copies of the clues so each group has its own set of clues. Cut the clues apart and staple or paperclip them together so each set has one of each clue. Put the students in groups and go over the instructions before distributing the clues.
It's all about the economics of disasters. And the big question that we're going to ask in this one is, are disasters good for the economy? And that's what you're going to try to answer with the clues that I'm going to hand out to you, okay?
Students should distribute the clues as evenly as possible among the group, ensuring that each person is holding at least one clue. Then, in a round-robin fashion, share the clues aloud. After each person reads their clue, discuss whether it helps to answer the question, and sort the clues into 3 piles: helpful, not helpful, or not sure.
Yeah, this one's actually good.
All right, cool. So we're doing 6 and 8.
6 and 8.
Yeah, this looks recent. We're talking about
So this is
JP Morgan.
I think this is.
These are the 2 that we have so far.
Make sure students know it's okay to move the clues around if they change their minds later on. Once the clues are sorted, they're ready to solve the mystery. They should answer the question, are disasters good for the economy? And determine the least number of clues necessary to answer the question. Like the old game show, Name That Tune, the winning team will be the team that correctly solves the mystery with the fewest clues. Give them 2 helpful hints. First, all clues are true, but not all of the clues are equally useful. Second, the clues for this mystery involve 3 disasters: the Black Death, the Spanish flu, and Hurricane Katrina. If you don't expect your students to be familiar with these disasters, list them on the board with their appropriate time periods. After allowing time for discussion, ask the teams for their solutions and declare a winner.
All of the groups chose yes, except for one. That was you guys. You're the outlier.
No, we did change it.
You changed it to yes?
Yeah, we did change it. There was like.
Oh, you had no down there.
Yeah, we did have no.
Oh, why is yes the answer for you guys then? Anybody want to throw out a couple of the things that led you to believe? So you guys like the idea that the Center for Policy Research analysis of the 1918 Spanish flu concludes that controlling for number factors, the results indicate a positive effect on the influenza epidemic on per capita income growth across states during the 1920s.
Resolve the discussion by asserting that disasters are not good for the economy, and that only one clue is necessary to reach that conclusion. In fact, any clue that tells us that resources were destroyed is enough to solve this mystery, and this includes human resources.
So good. Remember, 20 million people died, or something like that. Yeah, somebody back there mentioned, hey, well, so should we destroy some cities? Would that be good for the economy? What do you guys think? Destroy downtown Phoenix? Would there be some people who would benefit if we did that?
A small marginal population.
Yeah, at the end of Katrina, for instance, I mean, after Katrina was over, a lot of folks rebuilding. Some people would benefit, but do we all benefit from that? Does GDP actually come back to where it was anytime soon after a disaster?
Use the debrief to reinforce economic terminology and concepts. In this case, the importance of understanding the distinction between the output of an economy and the standard of living of its people. Gross domestic product, or GDP, is a measure of an economy's output, while GDP per capita, or per person, is a measure of the standard of living of the people in the economy. This helps explain some of the seemingly conflicting evidence in the clues. For example, how is it possible for the GDP of an economy to fall and the GDP per capita to rise at the same time? Actually, if the population falls more than GDP, then GDP per capita will rise. This was the case with the Black Death. Even though less was produced, there were fewer people to consume it. Or in other words, there was more to go around per person. Another important distinction is the difference between levels of output and rates of growth. After a disaster, there's always a lot of economic activity, as people are busy rebuilding and repairing the destruction. This can be seen in faster growth rates of GDP. But remember, disasters destroy resources. Even though the economy might be growing faster, it's starting from a lower level. Not only are we worse off by the resources destroyed, but other valuable resources now have to be used to clean up the destruction. This is usually an unseen cost of disasters. Ask students for other examples of unseen costs. It won't take long for them to realize that measures like GDP don't capture the very real elements of well-being like emotional pain and loss, not to mention the contributions that might have been made in the future by people who were killed in a disaster. These are real costs and usually unseen costs of disasters, in addition to those that we can measure.
Think about that. Just think about the last year and a half, guys. Has it been good for some people, the COVID? Some folks have been working 24/7. I don't know if that's actually good. We know nurses and doctors have been very, very busy. So there are some people who benefited, but how many people haven't benefited? Millions of folks haven't really benefited as much as some of the others. And so in the end, we know that our economy went down. It's coming back. Somebody's saying we're coming back there. I think somebody mentioned we're coming back in a big way. Yeah, it's coming back, but will we ever actually get back to all that GDP that we lost? And that's the big question.
Frederick Bastiat said, "There is only one difference between a bad economist and a good one. The bad economist confines himself to the visible effect. The good economist takes into account both the effect that can be seen and those effects that must be foreseen." Like Bastiat's good economists, your students should now be ready to look at the evidence in more detail and to use the tools of economic reasoning to figure out why, if disasters aren't good for the economy, we often hear that they are.